Hello everybody! Welcome to Dandelion Cottage and Paper Crafting Saturday. I'm Leslie Watkins. And I hope you're well today. Thank you for all your birthday wishes. I got a lot of nice comments yesterday on my birthday. I had a really nice day. I was treated to amazing homemade Indian food and shared my birthday with someone else and Valentine's Day, and it was really a lot of fun. Don't get out much these days, so when these opportunities arise, they are really very special. So today I'm going to do something a little bit different. I am going to be using paper crafting tools, but instead of making a project, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how you can use your re-inkers. So the re-inkers are these little bottles of ink that we use to re-ink our stamp pads with, but they're water-based and they make really great pictures. You can paint with them. So with just a few tools, and I'm going to show you the tools that I have that I'm using, I'm going to show you how you can use those re-inkers to paint a watercolor-like image with, and I'm going to be using the really fun Berry Blessings and Sweet Strawberry. So I think you're going to enjoy this. Put you down. So I have a little palette here, and this is just a inexpensive little palette. It has 6 wells, and I've got 3 colors basically in here. I've got yellow, red, and blue. And to be honest with you, I don't remember exactly which red, yellow, and blues they are, but any red, yellow, and blue will work pretty much, and just experiment a little. Just get yourself a piece of scrap paper and start working out your mixtures and see what you can get. So I've got that. Additionally, I also have one of the water painter brushes. So this is a middle one, and it's got a fairly large point. I think you can see that. The water is in the handle. I do have some water off to the side as well because it's just easier to rinse the brush out that way. And in the pack you get a smaller brush and a wide brush, but I'm just using the one today, I think. So there is that. The stamp sets I'm going to be using are these two. So I've got Sweet Strawberry and Berry Blessings. And the Berry Blessings set is part of the Sale-A-Bration items. So if you don't know what Sale-A-Bration is, it happens once a year, except that this year I think they are going to be offering it again in a couple of months. But typically what happens is you get free product whenever you spend $50 or $100 or more. And so in this case, you can get something like the Sweet Strawberry bundle, which comes with the stamp set and a really nice punch that allows you to punch out all these different shapes. I think you've seen me use that a couple of times recently. And so say you were to get that bundle and some watercolor paper, okay, and your brushes, you'll have spent $50, and you will then be eligible to get this stamp set for free along with the DSP. And the DSP is the Designer Series paper. And this offer only continues until the end of February. After the 28th, you can no longer get these things. So if that's of interest to you, you can check my description box below after I do the video, and I'll have more information there. You'll just have to give me a few minutes to do the editing and type it up, but later today it'll all be there. So I just wanted to point that out to you because we will be using these sets today. And I'm going to be using the Fluid 100 watercolor paper. And so I'm going to get out my piece of plexiglass because I'm going to do a little bit of wet and wet. So here it is, and I'm going to grab a spritzer. So here's a little spritzer. I'm going to moisten my paper. And I'll keep this off to the side because I may want to use that again. And then I also have a paper towel handy in case I need it. And I've got some ink here. This is the Sahara Sand ink, and it's a very light color. And this is going to be very runny. So let me zoom you in so you can see a little bit better. There we go. I'll move this up so that you're... There we go. All right. So I've already got my stamps already mounted onto the clear blocks. So I'm just going to begin to make a composition. And I'm using a full-size sheet this time. This measures 5 by 7. And let's just see how that acts. There we go. And I also have these kind of blueberry leaves. And I'm just going to create kind of an all-over pattern here. And now I'm going to take my strawberry stamp and add a few of those. Okay, and I don't care that they overlap at all because that will all be covered up. Now I'm adding some blueberries. See. There we go. I'm going to add a couple more down here. All right, and then I also have a raspberry stamp. So I'm just going to put a few of those in the middle here. There we go. I think that's enough for now. I may want to add more later, but at this point I want to begin to add some color. Oh, wait, I do have a little leaf here. Let me put a couple of these leaves in. I'm just about out of room. I do have these really pretty raspberry leaves. Let me see if I can squeeze these in. All right, I think I've exhausted all of the possibilities here for additional stamps. I'm just going to add some blueberries down below here. Maybe one more. Okay, so there is the stamping done for the moment. I'm going to put my ink pad away. And grab my brush and my paints. Let me see if I can move this over a little bit so you can see more. Here we go. Okay. So there. Okay. I'm just going to begin by putting a light wash of some of the basic colors. Let's see, I don't like that blue so much. That's better. And by putting a little bit of color on here, I can begin to see how the pattern starts to emerge, and I can decide if I need to add more to balance it out. So just kind of an underpainting and an overview of the way it's coming along. And I think you can see how the way these paints or inks work, that it's very similar to watercolor. The main difference is that these are dye colors. So you're not going to have the opportunity to lift them the way you do with watercolor, but that's okay. It's just a different look and a different technique. All right, and I think I missed one over here. All right, now I'm going to take my yellow and my blue and see if I can make a good green. It's a little dark. I think I picked up some red there. I did it again. Okay, we want to be careful we don't get any red in our green at this point. Later on, yes, but not right now. So if I had a bigger palette, it would make it a little bit easier to make my mixtures. But you can always use a dinner plate if you've got a white dinner plate, or a larger white watercolor palette. That would work well. Okay, now I see a couple of blueberries I missed. So let me just get those on there. All right, and then we have our raspberries. So for the raspberries, I'm going to take that red and mix a drop of blue in there just to give it a little bit of a cooler red-violet tone. There we go. And I'm going to take some of that yellow and I'm just going to put it in the center of my strawberry flowers. Okay, so now let me get a little more. I see a blueberry I missed, I think. Get some more of this blue. There we go. All right, so that is the underpainting for most everything. Okay, I think I've got everything. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to begin to add the next layer of paint. So I'm just going to go back into each of these things and I'm going to begin to do a little bit of drawing with the brush, adding a little more detail. I got a piece of hair on there. There we go. And the paper is still slightly damp, but it's starting to dry now, which means that I'm able to get a little more sharpness to my strokes. see another blueberry I missed over here. I'm sure you're all saying, no, no, you missed one. Okay, here we go. Hi, Carol. I see you're out there watching. For those of you who were looking at me, or looking for me, I should say, at 12, I had to make a mad dash to the post office to get my packages out for my upcoming classes. I realized that we were a day short next week because of President's Day, and if I didn't get them out, you all would be sadly waiting for them to arrive. So that's why I'm a little bit later today. Now, if you have any questions, please post them below, and I will do my best to answer them. I can't talk and paint at the same time, or I can't read and paint at the same time. So just be patient with me while I do this. But while the paper is still damp, it's important to watch how the ink is moving, because you don't want to miss your opportunity to get these soft edges. So I have to keep moving. I really like the way these colors are coming together. I think it's a very pretty arrangement. Like I said earlier, experiment. It's all about experimenting. So grab yourself some pieces of the watercolor paper and just spend some time practicing color mixtures and make notes so that you remember what you're using. These re-inkers come in so many colors. So basically we have the 4 color family groups, each with 10 colors each. So that's 40 colors right there. And then if you add in the colors, that's another 10. So that's 50 different colors that you have to play with. And you can experiment to see which ones work best for you. Now, I will advise you to keep it simple. When you see me painting, you'll often hear me say that I'm using just red, yellow, and blue. And that's because I'm keeping my palette as simple as I possibly can. Because with red, yellow, and blue, I can then mix and get my orange, green, and violet. And when you mix your own secondary colors, you're going to get a much more harmonious painting. The colors will relate to one another much better, and it will be more pleasing. So just because, a word of advice, there are no rules, but I will say that just because you have 50 different colors doesn't mean that you should use them all in the same picture because it may not have the kind of harmony that you'll find in a picture where you use fewer colors. Not telling you what to do, just saying. Alright, now I'm going to get back into those greens. So I'm going to grab some of my blue and make a pretty good sized puddle here of green, because I do have a lot of leaves that I want to paint, And I want the greens to be different. I don't want them to all match. I want a lot of variation in my greens. And by the way, that's another very good reason why you'll want to mix your own greens, because then you have control over all of the tonalities. In my watercolor and painting with ink classes, I go into these concepts much more than I can do in just one little video like this. Add a few leaves here and there. Have a little space. All right, I think I'm going to get back to those strawberries. So here's my red, and I'm just diluting that a little bit so it's not quite so strong. And also, because the strawberries have a lot of yellow in them, I'm going to pick up some of that yellow. So I gotta have a warmer red. There we go. And you can go online and find some nice photographs of strawberries that you can use for reference. But I really recommend, if you have the opportunity, to go to the store and buy yourself a package of strawberries or raspberries or blueberries, or all of them, and just set them up and paint from life. Now in this case, obviously I'm working from these stamped images, and that makes it really easy for those of you who maybe are unsure of your drawing ability but would love to start painting, or if you are a dyed-in-the-wool paper crafter and you have a lot of stamps in your collection, then this is a terrific way to have some fun painting and getting some really beautiful results. I'm going to mix up a little blue violet here. Get that. These raspberries. There we go. Now they're starting to look like the raspberries I've got growing out back. I think these strawberries could have a little bit of pure red in them here and there. There we go. And I think I'm going to add a leaf. Right in there. There we go. So don't be afraid to add some additional images. If you see a spot that would make sense to have a leaf or another berry, just paint it in. You can do it. All right, now I'm going to I'm going to mix up a darker green. So I'm still using yellow, just not as much. Just a little more blue this time. So you see it doesn't take much. You don't need a lot of equipment to do this. One brush, 3 colors, something to mix your colors on, and some paper towels, and you are off and running. And again, I'm going to go darker with my green here. Start adding a few darks here and there. And now the paper is drying a little bit more. It's still not completely dry, so I'm not able to get a fine stroke just yet. But I may go back after the video and add a few touches just to sharpen up some of these stems and leaves. But I think you can start to see something to happen. And I can also get a little bit of color on these stems, sort of connect them with the rest of the picture. Let's see how the strawberries are dry enough to get some detail on them. Now they're still pretty wet. So we'll just leave those for now and come back to them a little later once the paper has dried sufficiently. And the same with the raspberries. I can get a couple of dark violet spots in there. There we go. And I'll go back to my blueberries and give them a little bit of attention. Now, if you're unsure of how to model form, I recommend that you check out my beginning watercolor course, where I go into detail on the movement of light and shading and form, how to create three-dimensional shapes, and a lot more. I talk about perspective and design, color mixing, and it's a fairly comprehensive course. It's a 6-week course, and if you're interested in that, I would recommend that you get onto my mailing list and subscribe to my newsletter, Notes from Dandelion Cottage, and I will be able to let you know the next time that beginning watercolor class is going to be running. I'm just finishing up the most recent one, but I will probably have another one in another month or two. So let me know if that's something that you'd be interested in, and I'll get you on the announcement list for that. All right, now I'm looking at this, and I like it. I like it how it's coming along very much, but I think I still want to get some darks in those leaves, darker yet. So I'm going to make an even stronger mixture of my blue, a little yellow. There we go, that's better. And I think you can see, or I hope you can see, that when you mix your own greens, you're able to get all of these wonderful variations of warm and cool tones that when you use them together, you can create these wonderful spatial effects. And if you're wondering what the heck I'm talking about, that's okay. That's part of what we call atmospheric perspective, and that is another tool that we can use to create depth in our pictures, and that's something I go into with a lot of detail in my beginning watercolor course. All right, and I think a few more touches in my blueberries. So I'm grabbing almost straight blue ink here, a little drop of red, and I'm just going to put that at the base of the berries where that little spot is, where those little bits come out. I actually don't know the proper name for those things. I'll have to consult with the ethnobotanist and see if he knows what that's called. can get a little bit of drawing in these leaves. You can see I can start to get some of these serrated edges to the raspberry leaves. Here we go. I feel like there's a little too much space over here. So I'm going to add, just going to get my stems established. And I think I want to add another leaf. There we go. Just let that go behind that flower. I'm just putting a little bit of a tone behind these flowers so that you can see them a little bit better. There we go. I'm going to add some additional flowers here. So if I just take a little bit of the yellow that I used for the center of the flowers, I can indicate some more flowers. There we go. Let's see how wet this is. It's drying. It's not too wet. Maybe I can get into those strawberries a little bit more. Let's see what happens. No, it's still wet. All right, well, I think we're going to leave it at that, folks. I will come back. I'm going to let this dry a little bit more, and then I'll come back into the strawberries and put some of the details in them, like the seeds and the little sepals on the tops and that sort of things. But I think you get an idea of how you can have a lot of fun with your stamps and actually use them to create a picture. Get that on there so you can see it pretty good. There we go. So I hope that was interesting. I hope that that gives you a little inspiration to use your stamps and your inks in a way that might be a little more creative and a little more adventuresome to you. It's not that hard to do. Just play, just get started. And like I said, experiment with your color mixtures. See how the ink moves on wet paper and dry paper and different brush strokes, and you will be off and running. And if you'd like to learn more about my upcoming classes on painting with ink and painting with watercolor, please go to my website at dandelioncottagedesign.com and get that up so you can see it, and subscribe to Notes, and you will get all the information that you need to know for materials, supplies, and how to register for the classes. They're all online. You can enjoy painting from the safety of your home. All right, so have a great weekend. Stay well, stay creative, and I will see you next time.